Hello again. In this video we're going to look at converting angles from degrees to radians and then from radians to degrees. Now the difference between the two is the difference between, for instance, me measuring the distance from me to the wall in feet or me measuring it in meters. It's the same distance, it's just a different unit to measure that distance. So the angles may look completely different, but they're actually the same angle or the same rotation. Now, the conversion factor I'm going to give you is this right here. 180 degrees is equivalent to pi radians. Previously, when I talked about conversions, I gave you 1 mile was 1.609 kilometers. This is the same type of conversion factor that I'm giving you. And you have to be able to convert back and forth between degrees to radians, but also from radians to degrees. So we'll first look at multiplying from degrees given to radians to be our end answer. And for that, you're simply going to multiply by pi over 180, or pi radians over 180 degrees. Say I ask you to convert 120 degrees to radians. We start off just as doing a single unit conversion, 120 degrees over 1, multiply it by our conversion factor of pi radians over 180 degrees. Now, we can have radians in two different forms, either in terms of pi, which means pi is in the answer, or what we call the decimal approximation. Let me show you how we get each of these. If we start off just looking at this, we want pi in our answer, so we're not going to multiply by pi. We're going to treat it almost like a variable. So basically we have 120 times pi over 180. So we just want to really reduce this 120 and 180. Divide each by 10, you have 12 and 18. What still goes into 12 and 18? 6. 6 goes into 12 twice. It goes into 18 rather, 3 times. So this becomes 2 pi over 3, which is how we get that answer right there. So we have one form of radians in terms of pi, that 120 degrees would be equivalent to 2 pi over 3 radians. If you want a decimal approximation to that, you simply take 2 times pi divided by 3. When you do that, you get approximately 2.09 radians. If I don't specify, either are acceptable. But if I ask for radians in terms of pi, then I want to see a pi in the answer. If I just say, give me it in radians, you can do the decimal. That's fine. So it was just basically a single unit conversion. Now that's going from degrees to radians. Let's now look at doing the reverse, going from radians to degrees. And then from degrees to radians, we multiply by pi over 180. To go from radians to degrees, you simply multiply by the reciprocal. That is 180 over pi, or 180 degrees over pi radians. Say I ask you to convert 2 pi over 5 radians to degrees. All right. So we're going to start off with 2 pi over 5. We don't have to put it over 1. Notice over here we had to put it over 1 to create a fraction. We already have a fraction, so we don't have to put it over 1. And we're going to multiply by 180 degrees over pi radians. And technically those are radians as well. So you see the radians cancel out right away. But the pi's will also cancel out. Granted, if it's not originally in terms of pi, like this one is, then pi won't cancel out. You have to use pi in the calculations. But this one has it. Then you just look, 2 times 180, which is 360. Take that divided by 5. 360 divided by 5 gives us what? 360. You call me 360 divided by 5. If you don't have your calculator handy, because mine's way over there, and I should know this off the top of my head, but that's okay. That gives you 7 times 5 is 35. 10, that would be 2. So that would be 72 degrees. So 2 pi over 5 radians is indeed equivalent to 72 degrees. And that takes care of converting from degrees to radians and from radians to degrees.